Hi there. My name is Mary Main. Today I'm going to tell you about my work in attachment theory. Let's start with the strange situation experiment. This was created by my mentor, Mary Ainsworth, in the 1970s. It is a way to observe and determine an infant's attachment to their caregiver. I helped Dr. Ainsworth a lot with developing and implementing the experiment. The strange situation focuses on observing infants. It documents their reaction when their caregiver is in the room, compared to when a stranger is in the room, or when the child is left alone. The study begins in a room, which is outfitted with age-appropriate toys for the infant research subject to play with. The room is also outfitted with a camera or other discrete observation tool for the clinician to use. This research clinician will observe the child's reactions during the experiment. During step 1 of the experiment, the caregiver and baby will enter the room. There will be time for the baby to explore the environment with their caregiver playing along with them. The caregiver will help the baby interact with the environment and engage with the toys. During step 3 of the experiment, a person working with the clinician will enter the room. The person will be a stranger to the baby. With the caregiver in the room, the stranger will attempt to interact with the baby. In step 4, the caregiver exits the room, leaving the baby with the stranger. This is an important time for the clinician to observe how the baby reacts to this change. During step 5, the caregiver will return and the stranger will exit the room. This will be the first reunion between the baby and their caregiver. During step 6, the caregiver will leave once again. The baby will be alone in the room, though closely monitored by the clinician using the observation tools. After being left alone, the stranger will re-enter the room and try to comfort the baby. For the final step, the caregiver will re-enter the room and comfort the child. This will be the second, and last, reunification during the experiment. After the study is completed, the clinician will analyze their findings and determine the baby's attachment style. Let's look at what attachment styles are. They help categorize how individuals bond with others on a deep level. My mentor, Mary Ainsworth, originally concluded there were 3 styles of attachment. However, some people didn't fit into these 3 categories. I found a 4th style that was overlooked, which Dr. Ainsworth approved. The first style of attachment is secure. This is the attachment style that is seen as the most stable and healthy. The anxious attachment style can stem from inconsistency in needs being met. Avoidant attachment can stem from an emotionally unavailable or unresponsive caregiver. The disorganized attachment style is complex and can stem from a variety of things like trauma, comorbidities, or unpredictable parenting. But after determining an attachment style, what do we do now? How does this information affect our lives? The attachment style a baby develops from their caregiver can stay with them into adulthood. In turn, this can affect how they build relationships with others. My theory, which I developed throughout the 90s and 2000s, posited that an attachment style can become generational, passing from one generation to the next. But what if someone wants to change their attachment style? My colleague, Eric Hesse, and I created a process for therapists to use with their clients called the Adult Attachment Interview. Originally developed for parents of children in the Strange Situation experiment, the Adult Attachment Interview is a 20-question assessment to gain insight into the attachment style of adults. Questions on the AAI ask about the adult's history of relationships with caregivers and their current relationships with intimate partners and children. This interview can support adults in understanding their attachment style and healing rather than passing down their attachment style to their children. I believe that insecure attachments can be healed by attending therapy and overcoming past traumas and other upsetting incidents in childhood. Everyone is deserving of strong and healthy relationships with themselves and others. It is not accurate to assume most children have secure attachments. In my research, an average of 55% of infants and children have secure attachments. Typical distributions of attachment styles show avoidant at 20%, ambivalent at 10%, and disorganized at 15%. Sadly, the number of secure attachments may have dropped by as much as 17% as shown in more recent studies. So now what? What can educators do to meet each kid's needs? Teachers should acknowledge their feelings, create a safe space, seek help if concerns arise, and honor each kid's individuality. No matter the attachment style, all children want to feel loved. Even if a child has emotional barriers, teachers should never stop showing love and care for each student. Thank you for taking the time for me to teach you about attachment theory. Now it is time to reflect on your own attachment style. What type are you? How has it affected your relationships? How does it affect your teaching? How can you help your students who may come into your care already with an attachment type? Learning about attachment theory is important, but reflecting on its usage and how it affects a classroom culture is even more important.